the podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Stoked, the podcast. Today we have an epic guest. We got Carla Louise Gailey. Yes, also known as CLG the Great. She is super stoked to life, and we are super stoked to have her here. She is a creator, connector, and collaborator. She works as well for an American-based advertising company, and she's here to bring everyone together, which we absolutely love.
Yeah, she's become like a bit of a celebrity of the leader, which is amazing. I think every meal at Alchemy has probably been authorized by you. What's the head chef there? What's his name?
Chef Revs, my bestie.
Revs.
Oh, Revs. I check him squirming in and out of that place here and there, but you got to taste his food, guys.
Yeah, you have to. Shout out to Alchemy and Chef Rev.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, Carla.
Guys,
she's got that podcast of yours is doing so well. That's obviously going to be in the link, so check that out. They're chatting about some gnarly subjects on there. I like that you guys are taking that on. I'm excited for this next week. Are we allowed to say what you're going to be chatting about?
Yeah, we can talk about a little bit.
What are you chatting? What are you chatting about on your next?
First of all, I want to say thank you guys for having me. This is so weird for me to be on this side of the microphone. I'm normally the one on this side of the microphone and managing the space. But it feels good to be here. So thanks for having me.
Donkey.
No problem.
Excited. I'm stoked.
Loop Evolution. What do you think of the studio?
Okay, first of all, when I walked in, I was like, oh, damn, I need to up my game a little bit. This studio is so cool. I like the fact that it's soundproof because I make a lot of noise. I'm generally really loud. So I'm jealous of the soundproofing. Sure, well done, guys.
Donkey.
So
thank you so much.
Yes.
We appreciate that.
So like you mentioned earlier, I have a podcast called Straight Up Candid with CLG. I launched it about 2 months ago. Going into episode 5 next week. I'm very excited. I've got some cool guests lined up. I've had some really awesome guests in the past episodes. We touched on female pleasure, marijuana, mushrooms, overcoming emotionally abusive relationships. Next week I have a male escort coming on.
Stay tuned, everyone.
So excited. So anonymous though, which is fine, just to protect his identity.
I can't, because I can't say.
No, we can't. Is it you?
It's
anonymous. It's anonymous. We could be anyone.
I'm teasing. Yeah. So I'm really excited. Like the whole point of Straight Up Candid is to really just have conversations, uncomfortable conversations, and just unpacking these taboo topics that people are maybe afraid to speak about with their friends and family and their loved ones. So they come to a space that's private for themselves to put in their headphones and just listen to some interesting conversations that they might learn something from or be empowered by, inspired by, or just easy listening.
I love how you say inspired because, you're bringing people on there, they're sharing their experience, and the best way others can learn is by hearing another person's experience, what they've been
Absolutely, and learning something from them. I think the best way we learn is by having conversations. I learn the most from just sitting and connecting with people, and that's why I call myself a connector, because I'll sit and I'll just connect to someone and have a conversation. And I think that's how we started chatting. I met Matt 2 months ago, and we're actually at Alchemy. And we're just sitting with some friends and we just started talking about podcasting and what I was doing, what you're doing. And I think that sort of sparked interest in both our brains on what we should be doing, with our lives, finding our life's purpose. And that's, I think, where you figure things out when you have these conversations.
I mean, just out of that conversation, I remember getting a little bit of a flashback of me and Jacques sitting back at the bar, discussing about our own podcast and really wanting to do it. And by speaking to you, it really just sparked that inspiration. And you know what? Within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I already, I got everything going, created the podcast. Jacques was on board. Such a key aspect in this podcast. Love having him here. And
you guys are such a cool duo. You guys are so rad. And you're in the space and you're doing some cool things. So.
But thanks for the inspiration once again.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And this NPO that you're involved in?
Oh, my NPO. Oh my gosh. This is my heart and soul. So when everyone's like, what is your life's purpose? So about during the riots last year, I got involved with an existing NPO that was previously known as Freedom Communities. They've recently gone under a name change, and now it's called Inala. And Inala is all about empowering people, bringing them together, uplifting them, skill development, training facility, as well as a feeding scheme. So they're based up in Tembeni in the Krautful area, and it's run by an incredible man from Zimbabwe. His name is Patrick Bellow. And shout out Patrick. He's incredible. He is the most selfless, most humble man I've ever met. He just, all he wants to do is just train the youth and be able to empower them to, form their own businesses and sustain themselves within the community. So keeping them off the streets, keeping them away from drugs and alcohol, and just allowing them to find their own space in the world and just make a better future for themselves. I just hit up their marketing and do some campaign drives for them. Yeah. I love the children. I've developed such great little.
You don't have to have your own. There's kids everywhere.
I mean,
I've said it before here that some of us can't have kids, and I just reckon there's so many O's out there that need a bit of love and support and care.
There are so many kids who don't have that.
Yeah.
So I think for Inala, they first and foremost were a training facility as well as a feeding scheme, but they empower so many of the local orphanages and communities around them, and it's like an open door policy. Anyone can go in there and get a meal or ask for some help or some guidance, or if they're seeking something. The one day a lady was looking for a wheelchair, so I just went onto social media. I was like, guys, I'm looking for a secondhand wheelchair, where can I find one? Within 53 minutes we had a brand new wheelchair.
Well done, people.
Ready to go. And I was like, that is the power of community. That's the power of social media and using it right. And I think people use social media, for example, in just a bad way, in such a negative way, to either bring people down, or they use it for comparison, or they use it for other ways. But using that, like using podcasting or any kinds of media as a powerful and positive platform, that's when you can really make a difference and do really good work.
Yeah, so guys,
keep the stoke,
use social media to get people stoked, not to bring them down.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I knew this was going to be a good podcast. I knew it.
I'm so excited.
She's a storyteller. You can hear this lady.
That's me. In my bio. Ek is prata. Yo, please do
Why
not.
Why are stories important, Carla? Why
are stories important? Because it teaches us things, it enlightens us, it transforms us, it transports us into another world, whether that might be fiction or non-fiction. Storytelling is part of everyday life, when we see our friends at work and our colleagues and we tell them what happened over the weekend. That's a story. You're telling a story. When you're creating music, you're telling a story. When you painting a piece of art, you're telling a story through everything. Podcasting, everything is a story. So I think people are like, oh, you talk so much. I'm like, well, that's why I have a podcast, because now I have a place or a platform to be able to speak so much.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really
Except
cool.
my podcasts are very long.
What do you mean very long?
They're an hour.
We just have
minutes.
The brain capacity of a toad and a fucking tortoise. So
listen, I have the brain capacity of a goldfish. I'm like, loop done, go on in the back. But for some reason I've just been able to sit for some of my guests have been able to sit for hours. I've had to cut.
Well, then you've got them on a string. You got them on a string. Are you robbing them while you're chatting to them?
Maybe.
Because that's also another reason why we didn't want to do a long podcast, because people think you're getting robbed while you're because we're
I just need to check my bag.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't know
cool.
what it is right now.
Sucking too much stoke out of them.
Caden, go.
Caden.
When I give you the signal.
Don't my bag.
When I do
lots of goodies in there.
When I do the cartwheel, he knows.
I would love to see you do a cartwheel.
You don't have enough money.
The beard hanging upside down in his eyes.
I would pay good money for a cartwheel right now.
And thank you for that, Caden, because a lot of our viewers have been thinking that Matt and I have been speaking to nobody behind the glass.
Yes.
I think they think that there's one.
There are people here. There are actual people here.
There's a lot of you. What's up?
We're not just filming from our bathroom. Eh?
No. Although that would be interesting, the bathroom series.
Yes.
In the tub. No.
So when stories go from a place of just being a story, because I love stories, I think you said what I wanted to say. I'm of the opinion that everything's a story, because you could sit and even give us a fact right now, And Matt and I will have two different variations of what that fact plays out to be in your head and in your imagination. Because that's the first place that you go to. That's where that story starts to develop and stuff. So when it goes from story to like a belief, is there like that transition? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Because a belief then has to be true and it has to be fact. And
do you believe that beliefs have to be factual and have to be based off facts? I just answered your question with a question.
I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
I was like, I'm trying not to be a podcaster right now.
This is supposed to be easier for me, not for you.
Oh, really?
No, well, I think the definition that people have for belief is that it has to be a fact and it has to be the truth. And for me, there is no facts or truths in a story. I think once you start giving facts and truths, somehow you start to separate yourself from people that are thinking about it or believing it in a different way.
I get that. Yeah. I think it's probably sort of when you first said, how you would hear a story and you'd hear a story and you'd sort of like develop your own understanding of it or, paths of where you're taking it. It's all about perspective. And how you understand it. Your upbringing is very different.
Yeah.
And you have very different belief systems and that have been instilled in you and that you've been conditioned to believe in, that alter the way you see stories, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's all about perspective. I mean, let's look at it like this. Imagine if this world was black, white, and grey. Everyone would see the same thing, but we see color.
Yeah.
There's so many different types of people. There's so many different walks of life. Everyone has different stories, different paths, and we all are somehow interconnected through whatever it is, whatever you may believe in. That may be factual, or that may be, a higher power, whatever it is, or your conditioning, whatever you've been trained and, like drilled into to believe. It's all about perspective. I'll tell you a story. You might take it in a negative way when I'm telling you a story that's actually positive to me.
Yeah.
But for you take it as a negative thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's really just about perspective and how we roll with that.
Yeah, and how we've all grown up, It's our parents have had a huge influence in all our lives, and that could really change our perspective on the way we see things.
Yeah.
It's about conditioning.
Yes.
We need to sort of break away from that conditioning that, some of us grew up with very normal childhoods and ways of believing, and then others didn't have such normal sort of guidance and mentorship through their parents. Maybe they came from broken homes, maybe they came from an abused home, so my belief system will be different to yours because of how I was brought up by my parents versus yours and yours. Some people didn't have that luxury of growing up with family, so they didn't have that conditioning, they didn't have that, so they had to figure it out themselves, and that's quite a grey area to
But that's where I think the stories step into that grey space. Because the belief is so finite, it's so black and white. And the story brings people together because the Lion King, if you can just imagine you're watching the Lion King and you're trying to prove to me that Timon and Pumbaa really existed, they could really talk to each other, they really had this friendship, and miss the story behind, what the story is trying to teach you.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, the story brings people together, where the belief, in my opinion, separates those a little bit. And that's why I think storytelling is so important, because we can relate to stories. Everyone can relate to the Lion King.
Yeah.
There's an element, there's a little bit of Rafiki.
Anyone who doesn't like the Lion King,
must piss off.
Please just check yourself out.
Pause this fucking podcast and piss off. 100%. And so coming from belief, moving into a place of story, I think it's just freed me up to also hear other people's stories, because when you hear a story, you're constantly like, is this the truth? Is this real?
Instead have they fabricated something? Instead have they sort of altered the truth?
But also, let's not forget the respect for other people's beliefs.
Absolutely.
Like, you got your perspective,
100%.
but the respect there, it's like, all right, that's the way someone sees it. I respect that way that they see it.
That's like me telling you, this is what I saw in Lion King, and you being like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm still
It's
trying to
ridiculous.
wrap my head around the fact that you might not think Timon and Pumbaa were real. And I'm like, they're real to me.
Yeah.
And my whole life, my whole 28 years of living, I'm like, Timon and Pumbaa are real. They're my favorites.
Well, I'm down with stories, so keep
Yeah.
believing that. It'll make you a better person. It'll
you
make you a
see.
better person.
Just believe in yourself and believe in others.
Are there was a little bit of a novelist that I read
gosh.
in the bio as well. I'm literally just going to steal.
Copywriter.
What
and-
we're going to do is we're going to send out at mass Carla's bio so you can attach that to your CVs and just go
I
and
basically
bullshit
sent
us.
you, okay, so fun fact, I've never written a bio about myself. And so when Matt asked me to just send him like a quick high level bio, I'm like, cool, game on. And I was like, took like
Very
half an hour
impressed.
and I wrote like a literal Harry Potter name.
And
Harry
it's not even
Potter novel.
plagiarized because she's a copywriter as well.
Exactly.
The list
I did
goes
not-
on here,
and I
people.
word checked it, grammar checked it, all the things, word counted it. I almost put like a little supplied by CLG the Great.
Yeah.
Just to make it super profesh. But yeah, I'm a writer, not by any training. I discovered that I was a creative writer in like grade 10, grade 11 when my teachers would give me a task, well, I'll class a task like, cool, write a 600-word essay on butterflies. I would hand in a 3,000-word essay on butterflies and the existence and the reason why
We needed
butterflies...
someone like you at school.
Oh no, everyone was
We
like, can I
needed-
pay you?
Yeah. I would be that guy copying next to you,
3,000.
you know,
You've got a couple
checking
of extra
over your
words
shoulder.
to spare.
I was like, the one was like, can I have another piece of paper? Thank you. And they're like, you've got 17 pieces of paper. I'm like, I've got so much to say. I have so much to write.
So good.
Anyway, so that's when I realized that I was actually a creative writer. And then someone had said to me, like, Carla, you're taking so much time to write your pieces. Like, what's wrong with you? I was like, listen here. I'm writing a 3,000-word essay. You are writing a 600-word essay. We are not the same. Okay? We are not the same. I will
like
be a
that.
writer one day.
Different levels of writers.
Exactly. We're not the
Yeah.
same.
But now you're here. You're writing
Now
your
I'm
own
here,
podcast.
and
You
I
bring
write.
people
Yeah, I
on.
do the copy for my podcast. I write for local publications in KZN, various clients, and touching on the novel very briefly. I started this. It's like based on a true story. It's a collection of short stories. It's a work in progress. Between all the millions of jobs and titles and hats that I wear, I'm trying to finish it. I'm probably about like 40% there. And it's a collection of short stories based off my life. I've had the most outrageous things happen to me when it comes to relationships, dating, friendships, just crazy things, like being pulled onto stage and dancing with Ed Sheeran, or like just crazy things that have happened to me. Yes,
Ed.
that is
There
true.
we
There is a
go.
YouTube
Ed,
video.
you handsy mother.
No, he didn't.
Ah, okay.
Security did, but
Oh,
we'll claim that Ed did that.
Yeah.
I was like, Ed, marry me. But like just crazy stuff. And so I kind of started like writing them as like little anecdotes and like little sort of like journal entries.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, hang on. Like, I think I've got a story here.
That's awesome.
And what I'll do is like every couple of weeks, I'll just like post a little snippet from one of the chapters on my social media. And I don't know why, but people love it. And they're just like,
Good.
we want more,
That's
we want more.
amazing.
Good.
It's a bit of a daunting space though, because I'm like, who am I to think that I can write a novel?
Yeah, you're sharing it with the world now, and that's so
Who's
epic, you know.
anyone? Who's anyone? That imposter.
Oh, the imposter syndrome that we're going to touch
this is
on.
deep.
You
So
walked
yeah, tell us.
right into that.
Have out of
You
your
walked
own
right
experience, out
into
of
it.
all the success, and still achieving success. How are you feeling with imposter syndrome? Are you experiencing it? Tell us your experience, all about it.
Oh, damn.
Please.
Oh, sorry. I mean,
It's fine.
Yeah, but
We're a
fuck's
cool
sake.
podcast.
we're cool. We're allowed to say fuck yeah. Sick. I'm in.
You're
I'm in.
allowed to.
I'm stoked.
You're allowed
I definitely have been a massive victim. I hate to use that word. To imposter syndrome. I didn't really know what it was until about a year ago. And then I sort of understood like why I was the way I was, why I felt like everything I did and everything that I achieved was just either not good enough for myself because I thought I could do better, or I thought that I wasn't deserving of it.
Yeah.
And that was instilled by years and years and years of abusive relationships that I was in, being bullied at school for little things like achieving something like getting the lead in the school play, or winning some stupid beauty pageant, like I'm not a beauty queen anymore, but anyway. And I kind of had that instilled it in me from a very young age, not by my family. My family were the most incredibly supportive, amazing people.
Yeah.
And they always were rooting for me and telling me to be who I am and say what I want to say and, to speak my truth always. But, through my peers and through relationships, they diminished my self-esteem and my self-worth and always made me question if I was doing the right thing and if I was doing enough. And, if I was achieving something, I could have always done better. And then I started really sort of attacking myself. And I was like, I'm not doing enough. And if someone gave me an opportunity, I'm like, but why me? Why are you giving it to me? There's 15,000 other qualified, more experienced, more amazing people. Why me?
Yeah.
And it sort of took a moment for me to really establish where that was coming from. So it's really identifying where it comes from. And then the second thing is really acknowledging your success and your achievements, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard because it takes a lot of inward thinking, some reflection, sort of, really understanding your journey and where you've gone right, where you've gone wrong, where you could have done things better, where you actually did the best you could, and that was the outcome that you got. And recognizing those.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. I think what we often forget to do is we always chasing after the next thing, the next project, the next big bag of money, we're always chasing after something, and then we don't actually take a step back and go, hang on, I've achieved this and this and this, and I did really well on these, and I deserve the credit.
I totally get it. Going through sports, I haven't been to academic in my life, but going through sports, I always had it too, felt like I never was worthy of it.
Yeah.
But I love the way you said how you have to acknowledge it,
Yeah.
You always got to realize, okay, wait a second. I'm actually learning, I'm not an idiot. I'm only an idiot if I didn't try.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And what you're doing is pretty awesome, Very cool.
I think it's, you have to dream big and dare to fail. You got to kind of try your hardest. And if you fail, it's about recognizing what went wrong or where you went wrong. And just understanding that everyone is human, everyone makes mistakes, and cool, it didn't work out, that project failed, or I didn't get the outcome that I wanted, but just if you're going to do it again, just do it better and think about it and strategize better. And then I think my third point would be is just to be kind to yourself. It's so
Please,
hard. Just be kind and be kind to others. I have a mantra.
Please.
I have a mantra. I say, if someone asks me how I am,
How are you, Carla?
I am happy, healthy, wealthy, kind, and grateful.
Yes,
I
we
say
love
that
it.
every single day. HHWKG. I say that every single day.
That's so good.
What would CLG do? HHWKG.
Do you know what we say?
It's good stuff.
Ask us how we are.
How are you guys?
Stoked.
I'm just going through a bad time at the moment. I'm just really stressed.
Why are you stressed?
And I'm worried.
Oh my gosh, is this turning into a therapy session with CLG?
Yeah.
We live in Belita because there's no stress here. No, I'm joking. There is stress here.
There's a lot of stress around everywhere. It doesn't matter if you live in the Maldives or in Sydney or in Belita or New York. There's stress everywhere.
Most definitely.
But
Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others.
Yeah.
Recognize that everyone is on their own little journey and all sort of fumbling around trying to figure out what to do. And just understanding that, everything happens at the time that it's supposed to. For whatever.
Well, I mean, what the fuck else could happen?
Exactly. What's the
You're
worst?
not living in two different places.
I know.
There's some obvious shit that we're almost unaware of. If you are saying that you haven't done your best today, you're kind of saying that I've lived this day before and I did different shit.
Yeah.
How do you know when you've had your best day? How do you know when you've done your best? You're comparing yourself to a version of yourself that exists, the story that becomes a belief.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's this person that you think you are, that you're comparing yourself to the whole time.
That
doesn't even fucking live, dude. That doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
It's a very creative story. I like catching myself and saying, Jacques, that's really creative that you just come up with another O of yourself.
I feel like you need to write a story about that.
But it's the... You are where you are because that's the only fucking place you can be.
You can't split yourself into half.
Dude, and so take that burden off yourself. There's no better place you could be, or what the fuck is this living your best life?
I mean, I live my best life every day, but I don't
every
care.
day, one day at a time.
Be careful not to put pressure on yourself.
It's
again.
not,
how are you doing? I'm living my best life. No, you're fucking not.
I was gonna say
because we learn the most when we go through the shit.
Yeah, we go through these difficult times and sort of, dark places and hitting rock bottom. It's all a part of growing up and living life or whatever. But what I like what you said earlier is you're comparing yourself to maybe another version of yourself, but you're also comparing yourself to others.
Yeah.
If I look at some of my friends that I went to school with, or some of my peers, 90% of them are married with kids or are about to get married or are in their dream jobs, buying houses, they're accomplishing things in their own time and in their own journey. And then I look at myself and I'm like, but I don't have a house and I'm not married and there's a few things. And then I just catch myself and I'm like, but you are doing other things that they're not doing.
Yeah, sure.
And you can't compare. You're on your own journey.
Amazing. But anyway, we'll talk about it more.
We love Matt.
And, you gotta hit those rock bottoms to grow. And
the only way is up.
I found the best thing that helped me was, like you said, not comparing your internals to other people's externals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, why compare your internals, the way you feeling, and basing decisions on emotion, on what they have?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Comparison is a killer, and it's also one of the biggest symptoms or signs of imposter syndrome is constantly comparing yourself to your peers or people, your colleagues, and how much they're earning and what they're doing with their lives, and their kids are at this private school. There's no reason to do that. If you are actively working on yourself and doing your own inner work, which is really important, I think people often forget to do that inner work. It requires a lot of discipline, it requires a lot of humility, and a lot of quiet time. And for me, for the last just over 2 years, I've been sitting and being actively single, being like, okay, cool, I'm gonna, just do the inner work, really figure out who I am as a person to the core, because I'd lost that. I'd lost that sense of self-esteem, self-worth, value in myself, that when I left my last relationship, I was like, who the fuck is Carla?
I've got a great question. I really want to see.
Carla's going to have to come back, bro.
We can do a 2.0.
We have to.
We got to. We
have to, because
definitely there's so much to talk about.
I hate to be that, but we are getting to the end of this.
Oh, we're getting to the end.
One more question.
Do we have time for one more question? Okay,
your routine, because you said you're working on yourself, makes you a better person, and you're starting to succeed stuff. Your routine in every day, a day to day, a day in the life of Carla.
They want to ask that question.
Yes. That's interesting.
That has to be on part 2. Guys, guys, and please comment and like and share and everything. Please go on the comments. Tell us you want to see Carla again, because we have to get you back. This has been incredible.
You guys about my routine, because
what a dope podcast. We love you. I know.
I feel like I could be here for hours. I'll tell you offline.
Thank you so much, guys. We love you. Go and like, subscribe, all that stuff. Go listen to the first one. If this is your first time, go listen to the first podcast, please. We love you.
Thanks, everyone.
Stoked.
I'm feeling kind of stoked.